Good morning, everyone. Let me know if you can hear me on the session today. It is Monday. Happy Monday, everyone. November 13th. We're halfway through November already. Impressive stuff, realistically. We have a few things to talk about here. Today, before the week starts, we do have CPI that comes out tomorrow morning pre-market, which is going to be a pretty interesting event. We could just flatline until that comes out because the inflation numbers are going to be very important in the current monetary and economic conditions to see if we can get the pullback that we were expecting overall to continue that long side momentum. So CPI tomorrow morning is going to be a very important event. Until then, we have some things to cover based on what had happened over the last few days. Thank you, Lucas. Appreciate it. Sounds good. So first and foremost, right, last week we talked about China and U.S. relations, right, evolving, and there's been continuous increase in outreach from the Biden administration, and the leaders of the two world's largest economies are set to meet this week on the sidelines of the Asia Pacific Economic Corporation Summit in San Francisco. Now, on the agenda, we have issues tied to regional stability amid rising geopolitical tensions as far as fair trade and economic relations. So the last time that Biden met with Xi Jinping was at the G20 summit in Indonesia a year ago, and the tensions have only escalated since with tech export controls and Chinese spy balloon incidents that we saw, I believe it was this year, an increased display of U.S. support of Taiwan. So here's a quote, right? The Chinese have basically severed those communication links. This is what U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan told CNN State of the Union. We need those lines of communication so there aren't there aren't mistakes or miscalculations or miscommunications. President Biden would like to reestablish them, and he looks to this summit as an opportunity to try to advance the ball on that. So the economic side appears to be just a big part of the equation, with mixed ideas of how to structure that relationship with potential and serious repercussions. So how much subsidies should be granted stateside to prop up industries like semiconductors and electrical vehicles, artificial intelligence and quantum computing, and should the Trump era tariffs, right, still be retained to encourage reshoring or manufacturing in more hospitable countries? Right, what about the new trade alliances and the remapping of critical supply chains? So laying the groundwork for the San Francisco summit was Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, who met with Vice Premier He Lifeng last week that we did talk about, and to strengthen the communications and dialogue at all levels realistically. Following the 2 days of meetings, she had the following to say on what things might look like going forward. We do not seek to decouple our economy from China's. This would be damaging to both the U.S. and China and destabilizing to the world, but a healthy economic relationship requires American workers and firms to be treated fairly. So what she said. So we'll see how that moves around this week, how that escalates and elevates. Realistically, I think it's going to be an important news event. But we have a lot of news that comes out from this, right? We have Fed speakers this week. We have the CPI report. We have this. We have the China-U.S. Relations. We have, what else do we have? There's a lot, right? It's not just that. There's some other stuff here. That will, I don't know. I guess as the week goes on, we'll look at those. But one of the other things, right? AI. Earlier this year, Microsoft invested OpenAI to the reported tune of $10 billion, but the latter is seeking even more cash from the tech giant as it looks to create a sophisticated model of artificial general intelligence. Training expenses are just huge, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman declared. You have this research lab, you have this API, you have the partnership with Microsoft, you have this ChatGPT thing, and now there is a GPT store, right? But those aren't really our products. Those are channels into our one single product, which is intelligence, right? Magic intelligence in the sky. Artificial intelligence is seen as a catalyst that recently catapulted the Microsoft shares to all-time highs, as well as the company's recent quarterly results, right? Microsoft is catching up to Apple as the largest market cap in the world at this point, and it's not very far behind as we've pressured into all-time highs in Microsoft, which is leading a lot of this tech run, right? Semiconductors have started to run, which is a little canary in the coal mine for the general overall market movement. We still have tech that barely pulled back. I was still looking for that rug pull and that final drop in tech, but as it was seen, right, that just continued the upside pressure. And I think that that's not necessarily over, and tech can continuously still pull things up as overvalued as a lot of people think that it may be. Another thing to take a look at, with tech being strong this week, which I could foresee some more upside momentum in tech names, right? Specific tech names like Meta, Amazon, right? Tesla has pulled back in recent sessions and has a gap to clear up. Along with that, I think the opportunity in the following few weeks lies in oil and energy, right? It was only a month ago that many analysts predicted triple-digit oil prices, but many of those forecasts have changed in the recent weeks, with WTI now trading under $80 a barrel. And demand worries were raised last week as Chinese refiners asked for less supply for December, which helped counteract the fear of production outages related to the war in the Middle East. And however, some maintain that analysts are still not looking in the right places and need to reevaluate the supply side of the equation. Smugglers, dark fleet operators, thieves, black market dealers, right, are working overtime, washing and gushing oil producers or stolen from Russia, Iran, Kurdistan, and Nigeria, right? This is what Manish Raj, a managing director at Valandera Energy Partners, hard to pronounce for me, but I think that bringing that into question, I think that oil and energy is going to be, it's looking like it's bottoming out from a cyclical and a seasonality approach, and I think that there's going to be a long opportunity in that in the few coming weeks, right? I've started a position on this, and even though a lot of people are looking at the negatives right now, that's what usually happens after a market is down significantly. People start getting bearish at the bottoms. So I'm going to be looking for that. Today, I should say, we have Fed's Cook speech at 11 a.m., investor movement index at 12:30. Otherwise, there's no real news. In other news, the S&P 500 market is down slightly pre-market from Friday's close. Outrageous run on Friday, right? It was beautiful. Right now, what I'm seeing, right, is that we're above a lot of key levels. We managed to close above a lot of key levels on the S&P 500. And what I would like to see is that continuation to the upside, right? A lot of people are FOMO bullish, meaning that everyone's waiting for a pullback to get long. So that would suggest that prices are going to look for a little more upside to evade those longs, those pullbacks, before people start getting into the FOMO long at the tops mentality, where that's when I think markets will turn over. Now, I'm not saying it can't happen today, but we have CPI tomorrow with it's a big news event, so I would expect that sideways movement is more of a thing today. I have a little long position here, what's left of it at least. But right now, as I see it, as long as 44.10.12 on the S&P 500 futures or 44.05 area holds, there should be a little more upside momentum. Any acceptance under that, we just get back into the wild fat range that we had orchestrated over the last few weeks. Some of my upside targets, right, still remain the mid-20s, mid-30s, then up into the mid-40s, and finally into the 70, where I think that turns into capitulation. Between about 50 and 70 in that area, I would expect a little more capitulation from the S&P. But it's still not looking like people want to get on the opposing end of these bulls. So, with that being said, we have a full week ahead of us before next week's Black Friday, Thanksgiving, so on and so forth that comes around, which means markets are closed on Thursday, and I believe it's a half day on Friday, but I'm going to have to double check that because Thanksgiving weekend in the U.S. So with that being said, I hope everyone enjoyed this update. What we're going to be doing is opening up our live trading room for the day, and yeah. Check out community.tradeproacademy.com. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for the messages, the morning messages. Forex Black Box, Lucas, Marco, Oof, that's a Greek name that I can't read fully. But good morning. So I hope everyone has a great start to the week, right? Take it a little slower today, I would say, because we have CPI tomorrow morning. So I'm just going to be trading smaller size and looking for moves off key levels. A few key levels, like I mentioned today, don't get crazy with the start of the week, as we wouldn't want to get crazy with Fridays. So check out community.tradeproacademy.com. In the description down below, we do have a free futures course for you guys to check out. And we'll do this again tomorrow to wrap up the week.